gentlemen, I'm going to let you just hold on to your mic there because I got one here.
Thank you. That's very nice of you.
Mercer from New York City all the way to California just to be on our show on Easter Sunday morning.
That's right.
Jack, I can't tell you, we have had so many letters from so many kids and their parents wanting to know who does the voice of Popeye, because there have been a lot of imposters around, you know, people in supermarkets and shopping centers. They say, I'm the original voice of Popeye.
True.
This is the gentleman, Mr. Jack Mercer.
Thank you.
Jack, we're so pleased to have you with us.
I'm very pleased to be here.
We have told the boys and girls throughout the years, based on the Fleischer book, the stories about you, how you were an artist yourself, and then became a voice man. And I thought during the show, in between cartoons, we'll really find out the truth of how you go about being a cartoon star.
Great.
So can you stay with us for the whole 2 hours?
I sure will.
That is terrific.
Thank you.
So you've seen what he looks like. We're going to be putting him through his paces and really making him talk about the old days of cartooning and the old days of, well, when the animation was a little bit wilder than it is now, with Jack Mercer, the voice of Popeye, right after the next cartoon. This one is called Olive Oil and Water Don't Mix. We just saw it at the beach, and apparently it mixes pretty well in this one, so let's try Olive Oil and Water Don't Mix, and we'll be right back with Jack Mercer, the voice of Popeye. From New York.
That's right.
You've had a chance to see our show, so you know it's very loose.
Right.
We say anything we like and worry about the lawsuits later. But first of all, I think the boys and girls would like to know just why you are in Southern California. I joked about you're just coming for our show, but you've got other reasons too. Tell us what's happening out of Hanna-Barbera. It sounds exciting to me.
Well, we're making some Popeye cartoons once again.
Brand new ones.
About 48 of them.
And when will they be on?
Well, I don't really know that. I mean, we've just started,
right.
So they're working on them. We just started to work on them.
But they hope to get them on maybe next year, next fall?
Probably by that time, yes.
On one of those networks with 3 names, CBS, like that?
CBS, right.
Good. Anyway, they figured, well, who would know more about Popeye than Jack? So, naturally, they called and said the original would be best. So here he is. And CBS has said they're going to try to get him on next fall on Saturday mornings. Well, now, this book that I've showed the boys and girls many times, the Fleischer story, says that you were in the 30s. Well, let's just recap a little bit about Max Fleischer. He started with Betty Boop.
That's right, yes.
And Popeye was introduced in a Betty Boop cartoon, which of course... But you weren't the voice at that time, were you?
No.
Who was that?
That was Red Pepper Sam did the voice at that time.
And he had been an actor on the old Betty Boop radio show.
That's right, yes.
But then
he did a gorilla.
He played a gorilla?
Gorilla.
Good.
And they just used that voice for Popeye later on.
I see. So then the story says, at least in the book, that he wanted more money, or he got a little persnickety.
So they say.
And so how did you happen to get into the action then?
Well, you know, I used to imitate the characters that I was working on at the time.
What were you working on? What were you doing?
Inking department.
Inking department of the Popeye cartoons?
No, not all sorts of cartoons that we were working on at the time. And I would imitate some of the characters, you know, and like, for instance, if I was working on a chicken character, I would make a chicken sound. You know, and everybody would laugh.
Of course.
Encouraged me to do that,
yes.
You see. So finally, I started to imitate the Popeye voice, and somebody heard me and suggested that I try out for it.
In other words, the guy who had created it was leaving, and they needed someone in a hurry to replace him.
That's right. So I said at the time, I said I didn't think that I could really do it well enough. So I went home and practiced. And about a week or so later, my voice cracked. And I got this peculiar sound, you know, and I thought, oh my gosh, something happened here. But it was the actual tone that I wanted to get. So I went back and I told them, I said, I think now that I could really do the voice. So I gave an audition over the telephone to someone at Paramount. No kidding. That's right. So
well, now, when you got the job, did you continue your artist's work as well?
That's right. I stayed in the in-between department for a while. Then I went into the story department after that.
You know, that's an interesting thing. The in-between department is something that I have tried to explain to kids, but I bet you can do it better than I can.
Well, I hope so.
What is an in-betweener? What does he do, actually?
Well, he puts drawings in between the action drawings that the animator makes. For instance, the extreme drawings For instance, if you want Popeye to hit a character, he will draw this picture.
Right.
Then he will draw the final picture.
Right.
Now, the person that does the in-between drawings puts drawings in between those two.
And then they go real
make a
fast.
sequence, and
Right. That's an
makes the action.
in-betweener.
That's an in-betweener.
I tried to explain that to myself last week, and it didn't come, so I knew nobody else knew what I was talking about. Well, now this was Max Fleischer. There was Max and Dave and Lou.
And Joe and Charlie.
My gosh, Fleischer's all over the place.
The whole place was full of Fleischers.
Well, all right, we're going to talk more about the Fleischers. We're going to talk more about Jack, and we're also going to make Jack go to work. We won't just not here to relax this morning because we've got to dig into the chest and pick some winners of some of our prizes.
Roll up my sleeve.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And we'll do that after the next cartoon. Now, we're going to leave the Popeye field for just a little bit because we also have Jay Ward with us this morning. We have 3 great Jay Ward cartoons in every show, too. And this one, I believe, stars Tom Slick, the great racing star. It's called Monster Rally, and we'll be back for the first drawing of the morning and more chat with Jack Mercer, the real voice of Popeye, right after the cartoon's over. Here we go. You joined us late, and I hope you didn't. The gentleman on my right is Mr. Jack Mercer, who is the voice of Popeye and has been that since about 1934. You're going to do it till you get it right, as I believe they've said.
I'm going to try.
Yes. Now, we're going to put you to work, Jack, because every Sunday morning I have the privilege and honor, because we have so many kids who like our show and send in their letters and cards, of digging into the chest and pulling out a winner of a prize or two. So, the first one is going to be a pair of roller derby Street King outdoor shoe skates, and that one goes to Miss Marlowe Williams of Bakersfield. Now, you see how easy that is? Now, all you have to do is dig down.
I have to dig down.
You got to do it now. And we're going to give away a Radio Flyer tricycle to this one. We've seen the tricycle before. We didn't feel like that. You're doing it. Learning beautifully. Got the voice?
Right, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you give us a little Popeye voice with it?
Brian Parsons, age 4. And here he gets his prize.
Okay.
I hope it's a good one, though.
Brian Parsons, who lives out in Ventura, California, and that's quite an honor having your name read by the fellow that actually does Popeye. Okay, we've got Brian and Marlowe, and I'll put those over here so I don't lose them. But before we go to our next cartoon, which might very well be one that you'll remember, although I guess after a while they kind of melt one into another, don't they?
That's right, they all look alike to me.
Yeah, right. Well, the ones that we have the old black and whites, and then the Jack Kinney ones, which they show on channel.
Yeah.
You did those too.
I did those too.
And you'll be doing the new series on CBS in the fall. Right. Well, tell us a little bit about some of the other people you worked with. Who played Olive Oil?
Well, Olive Oil, Mae Questel did Olive Oil.
And I've told the boys and girls that I believe she's the lady that does the Andy Bluebell commercials, right?
That's correct,
right.
yes.
What about Bluto?
Well, that was Jackson Beck, and he does a lot of commercials in New York.
And what about Wimpy?
Well, I did Wimpy.
You did Wimpy as well?
I did it as well, yes.
Could I hear a little Wimpy voice?
I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
That is definitely Wimpy, but I do have some news because Jack was telling me that the new Wimpy, he decided he didn't want to press his luck. He's got, 48 Popeyes to do. He better get some help, and our friend Dawes Butler
That's right.
is going to be Wimpy, and we're very excited about that. Well, now, you mentioned the Fleischers, the other Fleischers. Lou Fleischer was in charge of the orchestra, right?
That's right. He directed and wrote some of the music at one time.
And Dave Fleischer, we see Dave Fleischer's name as the director of a lot of them. Now, what does the director in a cartoon do? I mean, there are no actors to direct. What does he do?
Well, he actually does direct the actors.
He does?
And recording.
Yeah.
And he sits in the recording and tells the actors how he wants the lines read.
Well, now what does
he would decide on the final dialogue.
All right. Now, does he also decide as far as the drawings are concerned? He says that drawing isn't good enough, that has to be done again, that sort of thing?
Well, not necessarily. They'd have animation directors that would animate that. But he would sit on the final.
In other words, the director's overall of everything, and then he has some directors underneath him. I understand. That's right. And, well, I was going to say, you remember Bose Will Be Bose? Does Bose Will Be Bose sound familiar to you? About 1961 or 2? Well, let's watch it right now. Maybe you'll recognize it.
Maybe I'll remember it if I say it.
We'll take a look right now, and we'll see if we can remember. Bose Will Be Bose. Look right in there.
Oh, in there. That's
hey, this is very good.
Hey, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Is really prominently featured. In fact, Bluto isn't even in the next cartoon. It's just Popeye and Olive at the skating rink. You must remember that one.
I think
that's one of the best, called A Date to Skate. And I would like to know, some people, well, now, different cartoons are made in different ways. For instance, when you watch Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or Pinocchio, the Disney cartoons, and some of probably Mr. Fleischer's too, you notice that the mouth always moves with the word.
Right.
But like in that cartoon we just saw, and some cartoons we're going to be watching, the lines are funny and the jokes are there, but they don't always match. There don't seem to be any talking going on. How does that work? In other words, when you were making the cartoons back in the 30s, did they finish the cartoons first and then you put the voices in afterwards?
Yes, that's the way it was done. You see, we watched the finished cartoon, and they had you remember the old bouncing balls that they used in the screen?
Oh gosh,
songs?
I do, but
Yeah.
the kids don't. Why don't you explain to the kids what that
Well, anyway,
was?
there was a bouncing ball that went up and down on either side of the screen in rhythm. And we had to follow the bouncing ball to read our lines. That's the way we read the lines. We were cued in with the bouncing ball.
Did each actor have his own bouncing ball to follow?
Each actor had his bouncing ball, the musicians had a bouncing ball, and the sound men had bouncing
Now,
balls.
is that-
It looked like a tennis match.
I
you
see.
know, going up and down all the time.
Well, that must be where
So-
this director comes in. He must have had to keep in charge of the whole thing.
That's correct. Then in between that, we would ad-lib lines, you know, or just to throw something in there to fill up the empty spaces, as it were. And whatever you felt like saying at the time,
Right.
you would say, you know.
Well, I must
There's
say-
little ad-lib lines, you know, like that, oh my gosh.
We get so many notes from adults and kids, mind you, who say we like the old black and white cartoons so much better because they seem so much looser in those jokes. They say, does the fellow who makes Popeye, his voice, does he make those up as he goes along? So the answer, I guess, is some he does and some he takes from the script.
That's correct, yes.
I remember one called Big Chief Uggamug.
Oh.
Was one of my favorite cartoons, and unfortunately, it had a lot of stuff which were a little. There was a taste problem now because we can't really say some of the things that we used to be able to say. But there was an Indian chief in it, and Popeye broke his bow over his knee, and then he said, who made your bows? An amateur?
Yeah.
Do you remember that line?
I remember
that one
yeah.
well because I remember hearing it in 1937 when I saw it in the movie theater. And then, of course, as I say, we haven't shown Big Chief Muggamug because we can't show that one anymore. Right. Tell us about your life away from the Popeye series, Jack. Do you do other things besides the Popeye voices?
Well, I do commercials every once in a while. I've done some for Burlington and Coca-Cola. The glasses, you know, that they present in these Red Barn places. And then there was one I did for Popeye's Fried Chicken.
Oh, I don't believe we get that out here.
No, I don't believe that.
Does Colonel Sanders know about this?
I think that's down south.
I get
police, you know.
What about, excuse me, what about writing? Do you still write Popeye storylines? I know you did a lot of those.
Well, I am writing now.
Oh, you are doing? In addition to doing the voices for Hanna-Barbera, you're doing some of the storylines too.
But I did do some Cocos, and I did a couple of Deputy Dogs.
Oh, yeah, I remember
things
that.
like that.
Yeah. And what about your family? Do you have a wife and children?
Well, I have a wife that's sitting over there.
I do that all the time.
Watching.
Yes, she doesn't miss it. She's very pretty, too, I must tell you.
Thank you very much.
Are you going to let her stay out here all the time while you're here in California?
Well, I'd like to, but I'm afraid that that won't be possible.
Oh, well, we'll take her as long as we can get her.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Popeye doesn't have a wife, of course, but he does have a girlfriend. And in this cartoon, A Date to Skate, I think one of the best ever made.
Yeah.
You will see just what great fun you can have with Mae Questel doing Olive and Jack Mercer doing Popeye. It's just the two of them, really, and there's a few peripheral characters, but mostly it's just Popeye and Olive in A Date to Skate. Here we go. We're honored this Easter Sunday morning to have with us as our very special guest, Mr. Jack Mercer, the voice of Popeye, and he did such a beautiful job, not only vocally, but digging into the chest before, Jack. We've been asked for an encore.
Oh,
There's
wow.
a dog here, a marvelous AJ stuffed toy.
Oh, that's a beautiful
Wouldn't that be a nifty one to have? Well, why don't you pick out a winner, dig down and pick out 5 or 6 and let them drop while they where they may, and we'll get the winner of the dog.
All right.
From Jack Mercer himself. And he doesn't have any relatives with letters in the chest.
I'm not looking.
Not looking, good. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's a hard one to read.
Isn't it?
Looks like Charlie Presnell. Let's see if the kids
Charlie
agree.
Presnell.
Let's see if the kids can read. Does that look like Charlie Presnell to you? It does to me. And it's on the other side too.
Oh,
Charlie Presnell with a hippopotamus. Well, or a rhinoceros. I never can tell a hippopotamus from a rhinoceros except by their horns. And there's a toucan there, too. I'm getting too technical for myself.
well,
Charlie Presnell, would you hold on to Charlie's card for me?
I sure will. Watch out for the horn.
Yes, I will. Meanwhile, oh, that's not a rhinoceros. That's our dog. This one is for a GAF Viewmaster. And it's going to go to, oh, we're going to turn this, oh, look at the pretty flower there. Isn't that pretty? We'll turn the flower over and see that it is from Vicki Gennell, Gennil, I think, Commission Oaks in Camarillo, California. Okay.
Oh, boy.
It isn't easy being on television. It really is not at my advanced age without my glasses here. Anyway, no, thank you very much.
Okay.
Charlie Fresnel
Either.
and Vicki, congratulations to you. Now, this next cartoon, I'm sure you'll remember too, because it's the time where Wimpy is a plumber, but he keeps forgetting his tools. He keeps running back and forth, and by the time he gets back, the whole place is in a shambles. It's called Plumbing is a Pipe, and I know you remember. Say yes, Jack.
I remember.
That he remembers.
That one I
All
remember.
right. Get a few more questions answered by Jack after Plumbing is a Pipe. Here we go. This cartoon was not a figment of your imagination. They were not Easter eggs. They were really a bouncing ball courtesy of our engineering department. The engineering department is also responsible for the jaws you saw a couple of weeks ago and the fly that keeps buzzing around. Is the fly with us this morning? Not yet. The fly may be with us later. Jack, no, that's not a fly. That's a dog. I have to explain to you, Jack, if you think I've taken leave of my senses, which may very well be true, but we mustn't tell anybody. I was doing the show for several weeks, and I kept getting letters from people saying, why don't you swat that fly? And here it was in the middle of December, and I said, what are they talking about? Well, we have an engineering department that likes to help us on the show. Oh. Engineers are very helpful fellows. In fact, we'd be in a lot of trouble. Oh, the fly is with us. Now, you can see over on the monitor? Yes,
oh,
you can
yeah,
see the
there
fly.
it is.
Well, it's not a fly at all. You don't have to get your fly swatter out.
Oh, I see.
It's an electronic gizmo, and I have been promised by the engineering department that they are going to sit me down at the console and explain how that is done so that we can... That's our head engineer now. Yeah. Yes, we're in a lot of trouble. Jack, do some more voices for us. Do some more Popeye. I've been talking so much I didn't get a chance to even ask you to do like I Am What I Am or I Eats Me Spinach or just anything you feel you like to say.
Supposing I just sing the song.
Why
Would that
don't
be
you?
all right?
That would be terrific.
Oh, I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Skippity-dee-dee-doo. I'm strong to the finish, 'cause I eats me spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Woo-woo!
Well, you don't need an orchestra. You don't need a sound effects man. You don't need anything except Jack Mercer, and you got the whole ball of wax.
I sing in between the cracks. That's all.
Of course. Now, you had professional training to sing that beautifully.
Oh, naturally.
Naturally. Seriously, though, did you? Well, now you were an artist. Did you take drawing lessons, or did you just kind of pick it up?
I just sort of picked it up.
Was your family theatrical?
They were all in show business. As a matter of fact, they had tent shows and repertoire companies, and whenever a kid part came up, why, then I was chosen for that part. As a matter of fact, the first part I ever did was as a baby. They carried me on in one spot, and there was a place where I was supposed to cry. So they pinched me on the derriere on cue, and I would cry at that spot. So that was my first speaking part.
Of course. Now, this was what
typecasting.
What part of the country did you come from, Jack?
This is in Indiana.
Right. And I guess they had traveling shows and Chautauquas and all that?
Chautauquas, the whole bit, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm a Midwestern boy myself, so I mean, I've heard of, my dad told me about it.
You've walked through the tall corn many
Oh,
times,
absolutely, absolutely. A lot of the tall corn rubbed off on both of us. Have you noticed that?
That's true. Maybe that's the whole, that's where it all comes from.
Okay. Well, we promised that we'd have another Jay Ward cartoon for you, and it's called The Muscle, and it stars Super Chicken and Fred.
Oh,
that's right. And when we get back, we'll have a couple more drawings from the chest, so keep good thoughts, and maybe your card or letter we picked this morning on Easter Sunday. Lucky Easter Sunday. Here we go with The Muscle. You would be so kind as to hold that up for that camera over there.
I can't have any.
No, you have to hold it that way so that it doesn't flare. Those are Sherbet's candies, and we're going to give those away to the one I'm about to draw right now. That's a beautiful close-up. You do that very well, Jack.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. This is for Miss Tammy Willis, who lives out in San Diego. So Tammy will put... Lucky Tammy. She's going to have her Sherbet's candies. Now, I will hold up this Denny's drive-in mask and combination menu while you dig in and pick out two prize winners. You have to pick one with each hand. Two, yes.
Oh, boy.
And these go $5 gift certificates each to two lucky kids.
Good thing I'm ambidextrous.
Yes, you are ambidextrous. He talks out of both sides of his mouth, too. Yes. All right.
All right, now.
This one is from Cilla Black.
Cilla Black.
Cilla Black.
And Suzette Bazaar?
I believe that's it. Suzette Bazaar. That looks like it to the kids at home. They're reading right along. Good.
Good.
Jack, you done good.
Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
you bet. Listen, I have a couple of brief announcements to make while Jack is still here. If you were going to watch Popeye next Sunday and listen for Jack's voice again and those wisecracks that he used to make up, unfortunately, it won't be on. However, we're giving up our time to a good cause because next Sunday is the Easter Seal Telethon. Now, you might say, well, why are we having Easter Sunday today and the Easter Seal Telethon a week from today? Well, we don't make the rules, but that's when the telethon is going to be. It'll have a lot of your favorite stars on it, and actually it's not a bad idea to have the telethon a week after Easter because a lot of people haven't sent in their money for their Easter seals yet. And you know, people put things off and they think, well, Easter's gone, I'll do it next year. This way, we'll remind you next Sunday, even though the Popeye show isn't going to be on, I'll be here on the Easter Seal Telethon reminding you to give to Easter Seals. So be sure to watch that next Sunday. Also, one other thing that is coming up on KTLA that I am involved with, and Jack won't be involved, but I hope you'll be watching.
I'll watch.
It's a week from this Saturday, is a very special television show from 6 to 8 o'clock. And I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but you will find out what it is if you continue to watch this morning because we're going to give you a little sneak preview. That's all I can tell you. Anyway, Barking Dogs Don't Fight is the title of our next cartoon, and I'm going to tell you, you might remember this one because it's been done twice. When it was done in black and white, it was called Protect the Weakerest. When it's done in color, it's called Barking Dogs Don't Fight, and you do the voice on both of them.
Well, great.
So here we go, Jack Mercer and company. There's so many boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen who have enjoyed Popeye cartoons ever since they were kids. What is your favorite cartoon character next to Popeye? You have a favorite?
Not really, no.
No, you don't get a chance to think about anybody else.
No, really.
Do you have a favorite cartoon? Can you remember one that particularly stands out in your mind?
No, not really, no.
Well, I must tell you that my favorite...
I like them all.
Good for you. My favorite is the... we're not going to show it this morning. I wish we could because we showed it. The Sinbad the Sailor.
Oh, well, that was
That was the big,
one.
long color one. You must have really had to do some work on that.
That was really rough, yeah.
And back in the 30s, when these were most of the Popeye cartoons that we show were made, there was another series being made, not a cartoon series. I mean, a lot of other cartoon series were being made, but the thing that we're going to have a week from this Saturday that I've been telling the boys and girls to watch for, we're going to preview right after this cartoon. This cartoon is called Private Eye Popeye, and Popeye plays Sherlock Holmes with a deerstalker hat, and there's a big mysterious emerald ring that's missing or something. I forgot just exactly the plot, but we'll see it as we go along. Then, tying into that will be a special that we're going to be telling you about a little bit later. Meanwhile, Jack, you just sit and relax. We're not going to make you work this time.
Oh, well, that's nice for a change.
Of course. And we're going to see Private Eye Popeye, and then we'll be back to tell you about a big special that's coming up a week from this Saturday. Here we go. And then maybe we'll sign it and we'll have it for permanently on our set, along with our picture of Mr. Seagar.
Great.
Okay?
Fine.
Good. All right, now I have to tell you just very briefly about what is going to be happening in a week from this Saturday night. It's a special about the Little Rascals. Now, of course, everybody of any age has seen the Our Gang Crew or Little Rascals or whatever you call them. But we're going to do a 2-hour show in which we'll show some of their episodes, and also we'll tell you about the characters, how they started, much like tracing the history of Popeye as we've done on this show.
Good.
So if you want a little preview, since we showed you Private Eye Popeye just a moment ago, we have Alfalfa as a private eye. He also wears a deerstalker hat in this marvelous 10-minute episode called Hide and Shriek. And you kids who live in Long Beach, you'll notice that your city is mentioned in this because supposedly, I'm not sure that it really happened, the action moves from the clubhouse to the Long Beach Pike. Can you believe that? Well, if you believe that, yeah, you'll believe that. Anyway, the one thing you'll notice is that Spanky, who is a big, big star of the Our Gang, or the Little Rascals, is not in this one because it was made before he joined the group. We'll be telling you about Spanky and about Alfalfa and about Darla Hood and all the rest of the characters on this special that will be on a week from this Saturday. So here comes a little preview by way of Hide and Shriek. And then we're going to make our guest Jack Mercer pose while I draw his picture. Okay? Here we go. Most of a kid's show about cartoons is to draw a picture of you that you can take back to New York with you and give to Mrs. Mercer when you see her. I should make you talk while I'm doing it, but if you do that, then I won't be able to get the mouth. And since that is one of the most famous mouths ever in television, there'd be no Popeye cartoons without it. I'm going to ask you not to say anything until I tell you to talk. Well, that's pretty hard for a character that talks as much as Popeye to do. He's got blue eyes, in case you're watching in black and white. I'd say he's about, 43 years old. Don't say a word, Jack. and he's a good guy, and we're pleased as the dickens to have had him with us this morning.
Oh, that is terrific.
You approve?
I certainly do.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope you've had as good time as we had. And Jack, I can't thank you enough for being such a good guy.
And I certainly appreciate you having me on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. So long, kids.